Hello, 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 welcome back. This is Xanthus with Xanthus Gaming. Today we're going to be looking at a leveling guide for the new season. We're going to do a little bit of it on the Necromancer, but it applies to pretty much all classes. I hope you do enjoy it, and make sure you leave a like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you do. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the footage. The very first thing you're going to do is you're going to create your character. Make sure that you choose seasonal or hardcore as appropriate, and then switch to adventure mode. I would recommend keeping it at normal difficulty and not moving it up to hard difficulty. We will switch to hard difficulty at a later date, but to get started, keep it at normal difficulty. It'll just be a little bit more efficient to get up to level 8, and level 8 is really our goal. After level 8, you can choose what you want to do. The very first thing you want to do is you want to go over to the followers and get the weapon. If you're a demon hunter, you want to grab the bow off of the scoundrel. Otherwise, you want to grab the javelin and the shield off of the Templar. Notice how it is a large damage boost of more than 100% when we equip the weapon. Then go ahead and vendor your starter weapon. After that, notice I'm not using Paragon. After that, instead of going to Fields of Misery, you want to go into a Nephilim Rift. Now the reason for this is because in the Nephilim Rift you have a very high chance of finding a pool of reflection, which you will see very shortly. In addition to that, there are treasure chests and a higher chance of finding elites for items. The other bonus to this is that as you're getting items from the elites when you're starting off here, it'll give you significantly more clearing power and the possibility of plus experience gear. If you start off with Massacre Bonus and the Fields of Misery, your chance of getting those and having the time to look at them to equip them is much lower, as you will not have time to stop what you're doing to look at your gear. Now we are watching a video playback of what was going on at a slightly increased speed, that way we can get through it a little bit quicker, but you'll notice that things are going pretty smoothly. I did all this in about 10 minutes, I want to say. Obviously I stopped to waffle on and talk quite a bit, so it went a little bit slower to that point. But even with a very, very bad density rift, which I have here, the leveling still goes pretty quickly. We're up to level 3 already. It's not that big of a deal. Necromancers have kind of a unique thing about them. At level 5, they have a special class-specific yellow weapon, a scythe, that they can craft, which is a significant advantage over other classes as far as leveling goes. All the other classes only have an option to craft a blue weapon at level 5, so it's significantly better, which is pretty nice for the Necromancer. You can choose to craft the one-handed scythe and the offhand, or you could choose to craft the two-handed version as well. The one-handed and offhand actually has potential to do higher weapon damage because you can get plus weapon damage rolled on the phylactery, but just crafting the two-hander is a little bit more efficient, so that's probably what I go with, because then you don't have to waste materials, and you're going to be strapped for materials. There's our first pool of reflection. You're going to be strapped for materials at the very beginning of the season, so it's important to save anything you can as you go, because you're going to need those for leveling as you go. But yeah, so we're just going to skip ahead a little bit here in the gameplay video. Same thing, just going through the rift all the way up until we get to level 5. When we get up to level 5, we're going to stop and we're going to go back into town, and then we're going to get our scythe. We're going to craft that two-handed scythe, and we want to make sure we vendored everything else, and there we go. Now we have a pretty significant damage upgrade. It was something like 300%. It's pretty significant. And now we're back into the rift, and we'll just finish out that rift. Skip ahead a little bit so we can finish it out. We got another pool of reflection, so we had 2 pools of reflection here. Pretty good. Killed the Rift Guardian. This is the other thing, is when you kill the Rift Guardian, it's a pretty significant source of materials for you at this early game juncture in your season. I got quite a few veiled crystals, as well as reusable parts and items to vendor as well. That's a pretty important thing at the beginning of a season, because remember, you don't have any of your crafting materials. So doing at least one rift at the very beginning, I feel, is very valuable for getting you those materials you need to move forward. At this point, you want to go out, close out your rift, and then after you close out your rift, you want to go to Fields of Misery. While your rift is closing, you have a 30-second window where you can't do another rift anyway, so don't waste the time just standing around. Go over to the Fields of Misery, close it out, and then just get ready to go over into Fields of Misery and grind out that Massacre bonus to get up to level 8. Once you're at level 8, stop what you're doing immediately and come back to town, and then you have some more work to do with gearing. If you're not familiar with what Massacre Bonus is, I'm demonstrating it here. You kill enemies until you get that little ticking bar at the bottom here, right here. See how that rope is ticking down? In order to refresh it, all you have to do is hit an enemy and it will refresh it. The higher you get this kill bonus, the more damage, or the more bonus experience you get. It goes 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, and all the way up to 4 times experience bonus if you get it up above, I think it is 300 kills. Or it might be 400 kills, I don't remember. But it's a pretty significantly efficient way to level. It's probably the most efficient way to level, but it is also dependent on you knowing your class, knowing how to kite mobs together, and also just getting a little bit lucky with layout. I don't like it as much because it's kind of monotonous, and we'll go into that in just a few minutes here. So we're just going to finish out, get up to level 8 really quickly doing this, and then we're going to skip back into town. Once we get back into town, we want to craft a level 8 two-handed axe. This will be a damage upgrade. Even if you have your yellow scythe as a necromancer, it'll still be a damage upgrade. As you can see right there. Now this didn't even roll with intelligence on it, and it's still a damage upgrade over the two-handed yellow that I had at level 5. So we go ahead and equip that. This will be every class other than necromancer. This will be the first upgrade for them. So go ahead and equip that. And then we move on to finding the rings. Now, in order to find the rings, you go to the fences. And when you go to the fence, you want to be looking for a plus damage modifier ring. The fences, notice how after their name, it'll say the fence. It'll say fence. They basically are the ones that sell rings. So Radek the fence is the one in Tristram. So we go there. I got really lucky and I found a plus damage ring right away. Right there, see? Plus damage. That's what you're looking for. Buy 2 of those and then move on your merry way. If you don't find it at your first vendor, what you do is you leave the game and then you reform the game and you just check again. But before you leave the game and reform the game, make sure you go to all the different acts and check all the different vendors, which we will show you where they are at right here. Act 5, she is right down there. Act 2, he's right over here. See if you can see it a little bit better here. So Act 2, he's up in the corner up here. Shimlek the fence. Act 3, he's right down here in the corner. Okay. And Act 4 is the same, obviously, because it's the same town. If it doesn't work, you can just log out and reform the game. Now, once you have your plus damage rings, you want to leave the game and you want to restart it in hard mode, and then you have your choice of what type of leveling you want to do. Now at this point you can choose to level using the Massacre bonus method if you want, or you can choose to level using Nephilim Rift. I prefer Nephilim Rifts. My reasoning for that is you get more loot, there's more variety in it, you have a much higher chance of finding pools of reflection consistently, you have a higher chance of finding specialty goblins and being able to take the time to kill them because you won't break your Massacre bonus, and pylons, they're just fun. Cons are, it can be slower depending on your luck with RNG, up to like a half hour slower. If you choose to go the Massacre bonus grinding method, it's the fastest way usually, as long as you don't mess up. You can get up to level 70 within 3 hours quite easily. If you're really good, you can get up there within 2.5 hours, 2 hours. The downsides are if you mess up and you die, you lose your Massacre bonus, you lose a significant chunk of time. If you have to stop and take a break, go to the bathroom, get a drink, you lose your Massacre bonus, you lose a significant chunk of time. Like, there's some real cons to it. I don't like it as much. Also, it's harder to maximize your upgrades through crafting because you can't stop to go craft because you're breaking your Massacre bonus. It's harder to maximize your loot upgrades because stopping to equip loot and look at loot breaks your Massacre bonus. And it's kind of monotonous. So I would recommend Rift grinding. But if you want to mix things up and do a little bit of Massacre bonus grinding along with the Rift grinding, that can be nice as well. It's really up to you what method you want to choose. The other tip, the last tip that I would give you, is make sure to check back at your weaponsmith as you're leveling, because at the levels of 8, I'm sorry, 16, 21, 29, 33, 37, 41, 50, 54, 58, and 61. There are additional yellow axe upgrades, and I will leave that information in the description down below, as well as a text version of this entire guide so that you can use that if you wish while you're leveling up. It's really important to get those axe upgrades as you're going. Also, it's super important that when you hit level 61, you go back to town and you replace all of your gear with level 61 yellows. The item level jump from the 50s to 61 is like double all of the stats. Super important that you do that. If you really want, at level 51, you can start crafting gear that's level 70 and try to get a reduced level requirement, but you're going to have a lot of materials to do that. And if you're going to do that, I'd recommend only really doing it with the weapon and maybe using the Mystic to re-roll it, but that's going to be kind of sketchy on the new season. But anyway, that's our leveling guide. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found some tips useful. And if you did, make sure you leave a like in the video and leave a comment and also subscribe. Either way, I want to say thank you so much for spending some time with us today, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye, YouTubes.